So I said before, let's get serious, okay? So in this discussion video, I'm gonna talk about a very special discussion, something that I really wanted to talk about for a long time. Even since the time I created my YouTube channel, but somehow I forget about it and everything. But the time has come for me to say what I think and what I really wish. So before I came to the old personal wish and predictions and everything, I just only wish to say that it will not be about manga or anime or Star Wars or villain discussion or live reaction or something like that, whatever I'm doing. It will be a special discussion about a video game character, or should I say, my first ever played video game that had always a very special place in my heart. Crash Bandicoot. Yes. Everyone who knows Crash Bandicoot and whoever played, you know what I'm talking about. One of the greatest, for me, the greatest video games of all time, and actually for me, like I said before, was the first ever video game I ever played in my life. First. I know a lot of people will say, when you try to ask a person and say, what was your first video game you ever played, and a lot of people I know will say Super Mario, or Pac-Man, or Donkey Kong, or Invaders, or Asteroids, or something like that. I mean, mostly, a lot of people will told you, the arcade games, which Super Mario is one of them. But in short words, most of the people will say Super Mario. But for me, it was Crash Bandicoot, which also I played for the first time, as a video game on PlayStation 1. So in short words, Crash Bandicoot was my first video game, and PlayStation 1, like everybody else, was the first platform I ever played. Also, that's where it all begins. So, in the first Crash Bandicoot game I ever played was Crash Bandicoot 3 Warped. It actually was, and Crash Bandicoot 3 Warped was the third installment of the Crash Bandicoot adventure, or should I say Crash Bandicoot story. So, but also, after the years passed and everything, I get my hands, of all the Crash Bandicoot games, Crash Bandicoot 1, Crash Bandicoot 2, Cortex Strikes Back, Crash Bandicoot 3 Warped, Crash Bash, Crash Team Racing, then you have Crash the Wrath of Cortex, then you have Crash Insanity, Crash Tag Team Racing, and of course, I also get my hands on the Game Boy versions, that was Crash Bandicoot Entrance and Crash Bandicoot Purple, and also the shittiest part of Crash Bandicoot Adventures, or should I say video game universe, Crash of the Titans and Crash Mine Over Mutant. Which, when we talk about Crash of the Titans, I can swallow the game. I can swallow it. But Mine Over Mutant, total fucked up for Crash Bandicoot. Total fucked up. I didn't like the design. The story was really complicated and didn't make sense. The animation of every single movie clip was totally, complicated. Like the entire game, totally complicated. I mean, it's like when you have when in the beginning days of video game, and you try to make all sorts of kind of animations for the movie clips for the video game, and you make every single first clip you make is a different animation. And then, after you try to decide which kind of animation you want to put, and then, just somehow you have a breakdown and you can't, figure out what kind of animation you're going to put, and then you put them all together. I mean, creating something totally shitty. I mean, it started, as some kind of a puppet show, and then, we have a cartoon version. You have also, when you have the Dr. Neo Cortex boss battle, the movie clip was Dragon Ball version. Goku Crash Bandicoot turned like Goku, Super Saiyan, and Dr. Neo Cortex, you can see him as some kind of a Mr. Satan character. I mean, I know. I also remember that one of the clips was, you see in the old cartoons, in the 1960s. I think it was, the clip was, that what I'm talking about is when Dr. Nitrous Brio, for the third time he ever appeared fourth time he ever appeared in the game, he was behind, all the mutagen and everything, the machine to create mutants and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's like you see an old cartoon movie that was made in the 60s. I mean, I know. I know. I mean, I know. I mean, in show words, I play all the games. I play all the games. Also, Crash Bandicoot, like I said, for Game Boy versions. Which also, yeah, when I was very little, yeah, I had a Game Boy until when you try, when you use it too much and everything, the platform gets old and broken. And of course, naturally, Crash Bandicoot Purple and Crash Bandicoot N.Tropy was the only video games I ever had. And also, for the ones who never played those two games, well, Crash Bandicoot N.Tropy, is totally different. Well, most I know that a lot of people said it is a spin-off of the Crash Bandicoot adventures. But in the show words, Crash Bandicoot tries to fight this new nemesis, this new villain whose name is N.Tropy, and a robotic egg, who is a master in time and hypnosis. And Crash Bandicoot Purple, is the video game, where him and Spyro, the purple dragon, make an alliance and go after, that little dragon with a ruby on his chest. I don't actually remember his name, but I know he was the main villain in this game. So, yeah, in a show words, I play them all. I play them all. And every single one, except those two at the end, I like them all. I liked all the games, the story, the characters, the boss fights, everything. And after all the sun, after Crash of the Titans, the Crash Minor Mutant, the production of Crash Bandicoot ended. Since 2008, and now it's 2015, it passed a long time. We never had, Crash Bandicoot. I mean, Spyro, he went forward. Ratchet and Clank, forward. Sly Cooper, forward. The only two games that didn't go forward are Jak and Daxter and Crash Bandicoot. I mean, for Jak and Daxter, I know why they stopped. I really don't know. Because also, if you don't know, Jak and Daxter were also the creation... Naughty Dog also, they weren't only the creators of Crash Bandicoot, but also were the creators of Jak and Daxter. I mean, for the ones who doesn't know that. But for the ones, who play the games and everything, then you know. I don't have to explain. But for the ones who doesn't know, now you know. So, I mean, Crash Bandicoot, like everybody knows, like I said before, was created by Naughty Dog, and they made Crash Bandicoot video games from Crash Bandicoot 1 to Crash Bandicoot Team Racing. Because I know that Crash Bandicoot 1, 2, 3, Crash Bash, and Crash Team Racing. Team Racing was from Naughty Dog. The others one was from different companies. Because I know that Crash Bandicoot from the Wrath of Cortex to Minor Mutant I think it belonged to the Sierra company. I'm not actually sure about the Wrath of Cortex and Crash Insanity. No, Crash Insanity, yeah, it was Sierra. But the Wrath of Cortex, I don't know. For him, I don't know. But, oh yeah, I forgot to mention. There is another Crash Bandicoot game. Crash Boom Bang. Made exactly for the Nintendo DS platform. I didn't actually play the game. But I knew, a friend who showed me the game and everything. Because, he knew that I was a great fan of Crash Bandicoot video games. And he knew that, he tried to show me, what the kind of game is that and everything. And I can tell you, the graphic and everything, I didn't like it. I know that game reminded me a lot of Crash Bash. But I didn't like it. No, I really didn't like it at all. And especially, I'm not a big fan of Nintendo DS. I'm not a real big fan. So, that's the only video game I didn't play. I mean, I watched the walkthrough, how the game works and everything. I saw that. But playing myself, nope. Also, I forget to mention it. You also have Crash Bandicoot on Nitro Kart, for PlayStation 2, and of course, you have Nitro Kart 2 for mobile, as a mobile video game. I didn't play the mobile video game, but the original Nitro Kart, yes, I played it. Which also, that's one of the reasons how Tag Team Racing was created. Because also, if you don't know, when we talk about the real platforms, the real video games, there are three Crash Bandicoot video games who are about racing, and there are Team Racing, Crash Nitro Kart, and Crash Tag Team Racing. Don't including the one on the mobile, the Crash Bandicoot Nitro Kart 2, which I didn't play it because I am not actually a big fan of mobile games. So here it is. So like I said, after those two games, Midori Mutant and Crash of Titans, the production of Crash Bandicoot disappeared. Just disappeared. I mean, we never actually saw any single video game ever. And I also know there were three or four video games of Crash Bandicoot were actually cancelled. I don't remember the title of the names. I only remember one, Cortex Chaos. I remember that one of the games were Cortex Chaos, which also was cancelled. I think it was, if I remember correctly, I think it was something about there was the events after Crash Insanity, and he was dropped out from a scientist club, evil scientist club, something like that. And he tried again to team up with Crash Bandicoot, try to get revenge of those scientists who just put him out of the club. I don't know, something like that. I actually remember. Alright, I forgot to mention one other game. It was actually for Game Boy. I actually remember the video game. I think it was Crash Bandicoot XS, some kind of adventure. I don't know, but I don't know. But I also know that game and also play it on Game Boy. But unfortunately, you know how it is. When you have a platforms for so long, and then just get all fuzzy. And when it's totally broke, you don't have another choice but to put the Game Boy into the dump and sell the video games, because that's what I do. I mean, I know, because I'm a very big fan. I know at the beginning I thought like I used to keep those Game Boy video games, but I sell them all. I mean, only for Game Boy. The others, I have them all. I have them all, and I will never, ever, give them away. Never, ever. My entire life. So like I said, I mean, remember that one time, when we talk about the future of Crash Bandicoot, I know there were a lot of, companies trying to buy Crash Bandicoot, from, because the last company they had, Crash Bandicoot was Sierra, which I know that after 2008, they went, broke. They were broke, something was malfunctioning in the company and everything, until 2014, when they were raised again from Blizzard. And everyone knows what kind of Blizzard company is. The creators of World of Warcraft. That Blizzard what I'm talking about. And for the ones who don't know what Sierra is an online system, that was founded by, I think it was Kane and Roberta Williams, something like that. It was based on, Sierra was best known today, even today, for its multiple lines of seminal graphic adventure games. It was started in the 1980s, which precisely was founded in 1979, but many of which proved influential to the history of video games. So the Sierra level was like I said, absorbed by its parent company in 2008 because of some franchises that went stinky. And there was, I think it was not only Crash Bandicoot, but also was Spyro the Dragon. And of course, like I said before, that was published by Sierra and were later published by Activision. But like I said before, Sierra was revived in 2014 by Activision Blizzard, the creator of World of Warcraft. And everybody knows, when the time comes when Blizzard tries to buy another company, they will do whatever it takes, to reorganize the company and make it better. Because after all, Blizzard earned a lot of money, mostly because of World of Warcraft. So, and of course, everybody knows that Blizzard is one of the most powerful companies, video game companies in the world. So, makes sense. But precisely, I think the way they bankrupt mostly because of Crash Bandicoot, those two video games, and something I know that something was for Spyro too, but I actually don't remember. So, in all this time, you know, I always Jak and Daxter, Ratchet and Clank, Crash Bandicoot, Sly Cooper, and Spyro. Whereas for me, I think that's how I see it, the dynamic 5. The 5 video games, you know, somehow they were always, you know, bonded. Or somehow, or should I say, in some points, those all 5 were different. But when we talk about, you know, the adventure, try to collect something and everything, they were the same. Well, I always played and loved Ratchet and Clank, Sly Cooper, Crash Bandicoot, and Jak and Daxter. But Spyro the Dragon, I was not a really big fan of that, of the dragon. I mean, I played few games, 3 or 4. I actually remember the names, but I wasn't a big fan. I wasn't a big fan of Spyro the Dragon, but somehow it was cool. It was really cool. But mostly, like I said, the other 4, I like them all. And like I said before, Sly Cooper, move forward. Ratchet and Clank, move forward. Jak and Daxter, Crash Bandicoot, nothing. Really nothing. I mean, they just came to the corner of the games that were like known as the forgotten ones. I mean, I don't know why Jak and Daxter they stopped, but Crash Bandicoot I can see why for those 2 games, Crash of the Titans and Crash Minor Mutant, because first of all, like I said, graphics stinks. The stories on the other game didn't somehow make sense. But Crash of Titans, yes, I can swallow it. That game, I can swallow. But, and the real main thing what I'm trying to talk about is that I want the game back. I want it back to rise again to its former glory. I mean, Crash Bandicoot is one of the greatest video games of all time. I know a lot of people say, you know, why bring him back? Crash Bandicoot is dead. Bring him back. Bring him there. Right and left, up and down. I mean, fuck it. I don't give a fuck what other people say. I want him back, and I know there's a lot of people like me who wants that game back. And I know, I also know when we talk about the future of Crash Bandicoot, I also know that in one of the video game trailers, you know, of the new video games is gonna happen and everything. I know there was a sign, you know, a traffic sign, you know, where you can see, you know, Shadow Crash Bandicoot when he was like that. He was doing like that, you know, that pose, like it was in Crash for Insanity. So, you know, most people think that was the sign, you know, that Crash Bandicoot is gonna come back. But after that, you know, like everybody was losing their hope because it appears like he will never come back. Because I know there's a lot of people who, like me, hope he's gonna come back. And I know also when we talk about Crash Bandicoot, I know there are a lot of people, you know, who try to, you know, buy Crash Bandicoot so they can, you know, try to reorganize it, to rebuild the video game and everything, you know, so they can put it back in action. But when we talk about if someday, I mean, before I came to the main conclusion, I mean, I just only wish to say, I mean, there's a lot of possibilities how you can bring back Crash Bandicoot. I mean, for example, in 2016 we're gonna have Ratchet and Clank movie. 2017 we're gonna have Sly Cooper. And what's next? Jak and Daxter, Spyro the Dragon. I mean, I know there's a lot. I know there will be a lot of people who can agree with me that also Crash Bandicoot deserve a movie. Oh, I mean, I can agree. I can understand and I can agree if they ever try to make a movie. You know, they're gonna make, you know, the first movie. They're gonna make it like, you know, when the time, like in the first video game, when Crash Bandicoot and Dr. Neo Cortex and Nitrous Brio, you know, created him and everything, and then he escaped from the Cortex castle, and that's how, you know, all the fight begins with between Cortex and him, Cortex and Crash Bandicoot. So somehow, you know, like in the same way they're doing with Ratchet and Clank, you know, how he became, you know, a ranger, a space ranger. So somehow I can agree with, even with Crash Bandicoot, if they ever try to make a movie. I mean, I really want it back, and for me, one better way to start, you know, like to give people a sign that Crash Bandicoot is gonna return back is with a movie. I don't know if they're ever going to make it, but if they try to make it, I really appreciate it. I'm really gonna appreciate. Oh, and by the way, I know there were a lot of people, voice actors who voiced Dr. Neo Cortex, but if they're gonna try to make a movie, I will advise people to take Clancy Brown, the one who had voiced Lex Luthor. I want to they bring Clancy Brown back as Dr. Neocortex because he was the one who voiced Dr. Neocortex in Crash Bandicoot 2, in Crash Bandicoot 3, in Crash Bash, Crash Team Racing, and of course in Crash Nitro Kart. Because after Crash Nitro Kart, I don't actually remember if Clancy Brown recording voicing in the Rev Cortex, but all the games like I said before, he voiced them, and he was really great. He was really great. I mean, from Crash to Insanity, to Crash Minor Mutant, the voice of Dr. Neocortex was different. But if they want to make a movie, I really gonna appreciate if they bring Clancy Brown back as Dr. Neocortex, because of all, I mean, Brandon O'Brien was really good, in the first video game. I mean, as far as I remember, he voiced almost every single character back then, and so I mean, for my opinion, the greatest of all, voice actors who voiced Dr. Neocortex is Clancy Brown, and I really appreciate if they're gonna ever make a movie or a video game, they bring him back as as the voice of Dr. Neocortex. Which also, if they're gonna ever bring Crash Bandicoot back, there's one few things I want. Like in the old games, 2 tag team racing, not counting Crash of the Titans and Crash Minor Mutant. I want, the levels. I want the places, we're gonna visit. I want to know that the video game is gonna be, one island after another. Like in the old times. Like one island after another, or another dimension, or going through time. Like in the Ice Age, in the medieval time, in the future, and everything. Or for example, like levels in the spaceship, like it was in the Cortex Vortex. In Crash Bandicoot 2. I mean, I want the levels to be something like that. Maybe they can also add something new. Some new levels, some new special attacks and everything. But I want Crash Bandicoot back. I don't want him like Mind Over Mutant and Crash of Titans so you can collect that kind of energy balls instead of Wumpa Fruit. Because everybody knows that Crash Bandicoot, when you play the game, he always he eat up 100 Wumpa Fruits, and then you have an extra life number. And also for the ones who doesn't know, Wumpa Fruit is some kind of sort of apple fruit, which also it appears like in the Crash Bandicoot video games, only in Crash Bandicoot universe exists. And like I said, he looks almost like an apple, but it's some kind of a special fruit that Crash Bandicoot is crazy about it. So that's one thing. If they're ever gonna make if they're ever gonna make Crash Bandicoot video games again, I want the old team back. I want Crash Bandicoot's team back. I want Crash Bandicoot, Coco, Crunch, Aku, even also they can put Tana Bandicoot back, which also, if I remember correctly, she was only in the first game, or should I say also Tana Bandicoot, Crash Bandicoot girlfriend, which she was really particularly, which also even she was taller than him, blonde, but I want even her to bring back. I mean, why not? Also, I want the tiger, the polar bear back, and everything. And when we talk about the bad guys, I want all Cortex team back. His scientist back, team back. His minions. I want everyone back. I mean, I want like when we talk about his team: Cortex, Nitrous Brio, Engine, Dr. N.Tropy, Uka naturally, Dingodile, Tiny, Rippero, Pinstrip Botoro, Koala Kong. Koala Kong. No, Bearminator was the member of the Crash Bash. Commodore Brothers. I want the old villains. I want them back in the video game. I mean, maybe. Well, I'm not sure. Well, if they're gonna make a video game, I'm not actually really sure they're gonna put all the bad guys back. All bad guys back. But I would really appreciate if they bring back the main ones. And when we talk about scientists, I want them all back, from Cortex to Nitrous Brio to Engine and N.Tropy, and that's all. Which also it will be not even bad if they bring back Cortex's nephew, Nina Cortex. Really kind of awesome to see even her. But Uka, if they bring back Crash Bandicoot and Cortex, they have to put Uka Uka and Aku Aku back. The two voodoo masks. Aku Aku the positive one, and Uka Uka the dark one. Naturally. The other things what I really wish if they ever put back the video game is some little bit changes, like I said before. Not only in the levels, but also they can put new bad guys. Some kind of, for example, new scientist or an alien, for example, like Emperor Velo or Enoxide. They put that kind of villains. Maybe they can be aliens. Maybe they can be villains from the future, like or on alternative dimension, like for example, the evil twins, for example, or another evil scientist, for example, like they put in Crash in N.Trans, the robotic egg, the purple egg. That's the kind of thing I want. So, if they put a game, I don't want the fucking energy balls like he had, in Mind Over Mutant and Crash of Titans. I don't want the Boompa Fruit. I want the crystals. I want the gems. I want the sapphires, of time. Like in the good old video games. For example, like in Crash Bandicoot 2 and 3. When you try to collect the relics, of time. Because everyone who doesn't know, because every single time in every single level when you collect a crystal, and the next thing you have to do is collect the gems, which also you can only collect them if you break all the boxes. If you break all the boxes, that's one way you can get them, and the other one is the relic of time, which also after you collect the gems and crystals, you can above see every single level you can see the time you have to fulfill if you want the relics. Also, naturally, you have the golden one, the bronze, the golden, the silver, and the blue. The golden is if you really, if you really complete the level in really, really short time, which also is a big record. And then you have the golden one. The silver one, if you really complete the time, but not so quickly. And of course, the blue one, is originally if you complete the time like it's written beside the level. That's what the relics of time are. So, I will also want them back. There's a lot of things that I really wish back. Like I said before, I want all Crash team back. I want Cortex team back. Also his minions. I want, that the levels gonna be something like, in the good old days. Dimensions, through time, islands, in space, moving one island after another. Also, they can even put something, new. New. Like I said, some kind of a new islands or, well, actually no. Yeah, everything was around through time or space or dimensions. Yeah, like they did it with Evil Twins. They can put another alternative dimension. Like, for example, like in Cortex, they went in Twin Sanity, they went into 10th dimension. They can maybe put an 8th dimension or a 6th dimension or a 5th dimension or 1st dimension. First dimension is their own world. Like in Earth 1 and Earth 2. So, they can do a lot of changes, to bring Crash Bandicoot back. And for my opinion, the way how I see it, the better way to return the game is to make a Crash Bandicoot movie. As a sign that there's still hope for Crash Bandicoot. And I know that there could be a lot of people, agree with me. They could bring Crash Bandicoot back. I know which kind of company they're gonna try to buy Crash Bandicoot and to bring him back. Maybe for my opinion, they can also, they can the Naughty Dog can buy him, back. Even for my opinion, I can even agree that Andy Gavin and his partner, they can rebuild the game. But there's one thing they don't dare to do, and that is a reboot. Because if they do a reboot of Crash Bandicoot, it will be a total messed up. Because I really want that the Crash Bandicoot video game started from the last part they were. Which technically I only see them, from Tag Team Racing. But if they connect Crash Bandicoot Mutant, well, I don't know. But there's one thing I also want is that they stay with the original designs. I don't want that the designs will be exactly the same like it was in Crash of the Titans and Crash Bandicoot Mutant. And I'm really hoping if they're gonna bring the Crash Bandicoot's video games back, I don't want to. They're gonna be exactly the same fucking lame games like those two. Because with those two, they really destroyed Crash Bandicoot. They really destroyed. And I'm really hoping that Sierra is not gonna have Crash Bandicoot again. Because I know that after Crash Team Racing, I know that Naughty Dog sold Crash Bandicoot to, I think it was was right directly to Sierra, which they totally fucked up. To when I talk about Crash of the Titans and Crash Meteor Mutant. So I know which kind of company they're gonna buy Crash Bandicoot. The only thing I'm asking is they don't ruin him like they did with with those two. I mean, I really asking to bring him back. I really do. I really do. If they want, they can bring all the villains back. I mean, or not every. I mean, I don't mean every last one of them. But maybe villains like, I repeat again, maybe villains like Cortex, N.Tropy, Engine, Nitrous Brio, Uka Uka, Nina Cortex, Tiny, Dingodile, who I forgot to mention. Yeah, Commodore Brothers, Pinstrier Potoro, Ripper Raw, Koala Kong, Papu Papu, you know, the Indian chief. Like I remember from the Team Racing, Crash Bandicoot 1 and Crash Insanity. I mean, even him, if they want to. I mean, I don't know, I mean, it will be their own choice, but there's one thing I only ask him, bring Crash Bandicoot back. I really want to see him rise again to his former glory, but please don't make it as a reboot. No, the story start all over again. No. Which also, I can also say that, also, please bring Jack and Daxter back, because I really also miss their games. I just want, you know, but mostly specifically, I just want Crash Bandicoot back. I really want, because it's not the same without him. I mean, it's good. I mean, I also play. Like I said, I play all the games, and I still play them because for me they're very cool. From the first one to Crash Tag Team Racing, every last video game except the ones from Game Boy, because I don't have a Game Boy anymore, and I don't also have the video game, the games, because unfortunately I sell them. Which I can promise you, where in my country where I am, they didn't went, you know, to another country. They're still in the country where I am. But I don't know who, but I remember which guy I give them and where he lives right now. But I know I sold them for very small money, because back in those days, after Game Boy, you know, went out of marketing, went out of market. Even, you know, when we talk about GameCube and Game Boy, they went out of the market. I didn't find a lot of people who are interested, but somehow luck was on my side, and I found someone to sell them with for small money. Because, like I said, after Game Boy went out of the market, the price became very low. Just like, for example, even for PlayStation 2, after, you know, and that's exactly the same thing, like just like for PlayStation 1 or even PlayStation 2, and even the same thing will happen to PlayStation 3, and exactly the same thing will happen for PlayStation 4 when PlayStation 5 will actually came out. And for my opinion, after PlayStation 4, I really wish to suggest them they don't make any more PlayStation platforms, because really that's enough. Because of the way how they continue, I believe they're gonna make it like to PlayStation 100, which I know which time it will be. 3,000? I know. I mean, okay, forget about that. Please, if there are any people around the world who agree with me to bring Crash Bandicoot back, please send this video across the globe to everyone who is still interested in Crash Bandicoot, to see him back to his former glory. Please. To every single video game company, bring Crash Bandicoot back. Please. I know I heard about this Crash Bandicoot Crystal Madness, but it's not the same. Please bring him back. And with all of that, what I said, I'm done. I really am. I don't really have to say anymore. Like, I will repeat again, like I said, bring him back. And the only thing I wish, you know, for this video game is to see the old hero team back and the old villains back. Not all of them, but mostly, you know, like 40 or 50% of them, to see them back. You can also add new villains, which will be really kind of great. New kind of levels, new places, new dimension, or, well, for time, you know, will not be very different. But every single time, you know, if you're gonna put a video game or Crash Bandicoot where we talk about through time, you definitely have to put Dr. Nefarious N.Tropy. After all, he is the master of time. Him or Entrance. So here I am again. So at the end, rate the video, comment, subscribe. Give me thoughts to give me what you personally think about Crash Bandicoot's return. What do you think is gonna happen next? I mean, drop a like, I would appreciate it, and please, if there are any Crash Bandicoot fans out there, please send this video to everyone to see it, because if we all unite together, maybe we're gonna make companies to make Crash Bandicoot return. Please, I beg you. And the last thing I wish to say, only if they're gonna make a Crash Bandicoot movie, I want Dr. Neocortex as to be voiced by Clancy Brown, and for other villains, they can also have great voice actors to voice them. Really, they can. Like for example, like did with Ratchet and Clank. They say the same thing they had to do with Crash Bandicoot. Peace everyone, have an awesome rest of the day. Drop a like, I appreciate that. Lord of Shadows, like always, signing off, and let the darkness bind you. See you next time, people.